It's every Red Raiders favorite podcast. This is the Tech Talk Podcast from Double T 97.3.
Hey, what's happening? Happy Thursday. Good afternoon and welcome into Tech Talk on Double T 97.3, Double T973.com, and yours worldwide through the Double T 97.3 mobile app, brought to you by Happy State Bank. Also on television, Fox 34 News Now. However, wherever you may be joining us from, we're glad that you've decided to make us part of your Thursday. We're hanging with you for the next 3 hours, all the way till 6 o'clock this evening. Rangers baseball coming up a little bit later as well. It'll be at 8 o'clock. But we've also got Red Raider football with Joey McGuire coming up after we bow out of here at 6 o'clock. To my right, that's Mike Gustafson in his normal chair. Clint Scott across the way in his normal spot. And I'm Chois Woodman in for Aaron Dickens again today. You two can join us. Your thoughts, comments, questions, hopes, dreams, whatever you want to get in there. It's not too early for score predictions for the weekend. If you want to chime in with that, all of that welcome on that Yates Flooring Center chat line. Gus, how we doing today?
I am hanging in there.
Hanging in?
No complaints.
Hanging in there like a hair on a biscuit?
I like it. Ready for this, these games, this week-to-week mode that we get into with, just recapping for, probably a day and a half. Usually it feels like about somewhere midway into the Tuesday show. You sort of flip forward to the next week, and by Thursday and Friday, it becomes a it's like, man, I'm ready to see this game.
Yeah, you definitely start to itch for it. By this time of the week.
Yeah, we talk up the Deuce Vaughn, and we talk up the draftable, D-end edge rusher that they've got, and we talk up just a bunch of scenarios and all the different things that we run through, and then it just sets up a little more anticipation. We're in this stretch here where we've basically going to go 4 weeks between home games, 4 weekends, right. Literally like 28 days, 2 games and an open week, and so I don't want to. It's not really a dry spell, but it's a it's definitely a kind of it's a reset point, we'll call it, in the season, because from here on out, once we get back to home games, we're what, 4 of our last 6 are at home, right?
Yeah. That's something that sets up pretty well for
favorable.
You.
Yeah.
And 4 out of 6, I'd say, are pretty winnable. Mm-hmm. I mean, they're all winnable, but semi-favorable games. Yeah. Certainly that we feel good about the matchups. We also feel good about those matchups at home. Mm-hmm. Now, I can't sit here right now and tell you which of these games Vegas is gonna have us favored in. Definitely West Virginia. Probably Kansas.
And
then that's probably it that you could feel like you could
right
sit
now.
here
right now.
On September 29th and say you're going to be favored in those 2 games. Beyond that, still need to see more from the league. You're one third of the way through the season.
Yeah, and that's the kicker there to it is what you said. We're going to learn more about the league.
Yeah,
and there's some nice matchups, and you and I touched on them yesterday. Mm-hmm. Probably plenty of time for that today, but just some nice matchups that may be revealing about some of these teams. And I think this is the first week that every team in the league is playing a conference game. I believe, because I think we had 4 last week.
We had 4 last week.
An open week.
We had a couple of non-conference games last week as well with
that's right, West
teams.
Virginia and Vatech and
then
something else.
SMU TCU was the other one.
Yep, there you go.
So
that was a Southwest Conference game. So sort of kind. By the way, that was one of the little talking points last week. Is it was there was a couple little busy week in the Southwest Conference because there was 8 games involving 8 teams. Right. It was us in Texas and Houston Rice, and then A&M and Arkansas, and the other one was what? SMU TCU.
Yeah.
So like legit 4 Southwest Conference games. That doesn't happen very often anymore.
You missed the Southwest Conference?
I mean, even the reformed, the soon to be formed Texas and OU-less Big 12, I think I prefer over the Southwest Conference. I mean, there was an intimacy about it because it was all Texas.
Yeah.
You know, at the very end, it was Texas and Arkansas forever.
Right.
The state of Texas and Arkansas. But that was also its undoing because it was very, you know, we were. Let's just say the media rights wouldn't have been an ideal scenario for that. All you really had to sell in that situation was the DFW Houston.
Yeah,
and the Big Eight had their own set of issues as well. That's why it was a pretty good marriage. And it in some ways it's a shame that didn't work out, and you know we can all blame Texas for that or whatever. But you know, but it really was a geographical fit. There was a lot of reasons why the original Big 12, you know, that we knew the original Big 12 was, you know, really good.
Actually 12 teams too.
Yeah, it was actually
We're about
12.
To get back to 12.
Yep,
well,
sure.
14 for a season.
Yeah. And by the way, there was some news about that today. The Kirby Hillcut had some comments like, "Hey, the 23 football schedule is not going to be out anytime soon."
Yeah.
I mean, and what he means by that is like, don't be sitting around thinking we're going to get it on Friday.
Because I think in that Don Williams talked about it in that article that we've had it several times in October, so many times in November, and then once in December we've had it released. But I mean, it's kind of alluded to. It could be even after that. But we'll say I spoke with someone last week and they kind of said that they've got versions done right now. The league has stuff done. They're just kind of waiting on more things to happen or just kind of letting things play out at the moment.
That's interesting because you probably got, okay, if scenario A, then here's the schedule. Scenario B, here's the schedule. And I'm sure part of that is a key part of that is, are Texas and OU in the league or are they not?
Are they going to go ahead and now, as of right now, SEC's already released their schedules for next year, and there's no Texas and OU currently. That could be adjusted, I'm sure. Yeah. But
I'm sure they'd find a way. I'm sure they'd find a way to squeeze them in.
They'll find a way if they
well, and the key thing is for those schools, what it allows them to do is go ahead and get their non-conference things lined up and locked down.
Sure.
You know, and it's the same way with the baseball schedule, and I don't know what that is other than we know week 3 Tech's playing at Minute Maid in the
right.
You know, but you know the key thing that they're being given, I don't know that Joe Hughes and Tim, you know, Tadlock and those guys, and I'm sure Hoops is the same way either. Just of course, you know, is just to say, hey, let me know when my open week is. I don't care that I'm playing. You know, 2 or 3 years out, I don't care that we have West Virginia before Tech or whoever. Right. You know, it's more about, you know, give me a sense of where my open week is in there, and then probably for them, they don't want to go like road trip to road midweek. You know, that sort of. There's some of that stuff, but yeah, you know, but they don't need the super specifics of, you know, all of that goes into it. But you can dang sure bet that if they've got an April 14th, 15th, and 16th open weekend, or in the case of football, you know, if the conference is going to stick them on a conference game on September 21st, and then they're going to have, you know, September 28th situation that they need to go out and fill with a non-con. That's the stuff you can't surprise us with that stuff because you can't fill those teams. Sure.
It's Tech Talk. More next on Double T 97.3.
Podcast put together with Red Raider fans in mind. This is the Tech Talk Podcast from Double T 97.3.
Hey, it's the juice. Part of Tech Talk from Double T 97.3 and Double T 97.3.com. Don't forget, juice presented by our friends over at Specs. Go check them out. Buy something while you're there. Couple of Lubbock locations, one off of Slide in the Loop, the other on 4th behind the Whataburger. We'll start the headlines off with what we've got coming up on the airwaves tonight. That is Red Raider football with Joey McGuire coming up this evening at 6 o'clock here on Double T 97.3. You know, he's had a lot of happy shows to do.
Yeah, those are better. He said, I mean, most of his stuff is happy.
Yeah.
But he's definitely had
positive,
3 happy shows in the last 4 weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah,
not,
but like,
not too bad.
Yeah. That's
3 out of 4.
You could even say that about his show after the game in Raleigh.
Yeah.
You know, not that he was.
No, he doesn't really. He's pretty constant. Doesn't really change much. That'll be at 6 o'clock tonight. You can listen in there. A little bit later this evening on Double T 97.3, you'll have Rangers baseball as they close out the series. The rubber match with the Seattle Mariners lost yesterday 3-1 after the outstanding performance by Josh Young on Tuesday night. Angels will try to take the series in Seattle this evening.
Josh with another RBI base hit last night.
Yep. The only run. So he is accounted for all 6 of the runs in this series for the Rangers.
That's true. He's enjoying his first games in Seattle.
Not too bad. Have you ever been up there?
I have. I have. We honored John Olerud. We honored Dr. John Olerud, which is the father of the one that you would most know. He was actually an All-American catcher at Washington State in the 60s, but there was a point at which the other John Olerud became the John Olerud, and he became Dr. Olerud. But he's a dermatologist.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and just had a really nice medical career after.
Professional
and he played
career,
a little bit of pro ball, some minor league ball. But yeah, so when we were up there, we honored him at the stadium and at the ballpark, and he threw out the first pitch. But
why did John?
Cool setting.
I never actually, heard or read. Why did John wear the helmet at first base?
And when he was a junior, his third year, his draft year at Washington State, he had an aneurysm. One day at practice, and it was life-threatening.
So had to wear that.
Yeah, and so then it was just about protecting his head so he wouldn't get hit by a line drive or just a bad hop or something like that.
Yeah.
But that's exactly it. And obviously the recovery was good and went on to have not a Hall of Fame college baseball Hall of Fame career, no doubt, but not a
pretty
Major
good
League
career,
Hall of Fame, but a really nice, probably 15-year career. And he's a good guy. He's actually somebody if I call him, he'll call me back, and we still talk about the award every year. And he's good guy, good guy, good family man, the whole deal.
Texas Tech volleyball zipped through it last night against Kansas State. Got the Wildcat hate week off to a good start as they win it 25-22, 25-23, and 25-15 in straight sets. Pretty impressive for Coach Greystone and company. They are rolling right now. 13-2 on the season, 2-0 in Big 12 play, but there's a team that might be a streak stopper. Sitting there on Sunday, Red Raiders will host the number 1 team in the country, the Texas Longhorns, coming up this weekend. So, going to be a tough one. But, hey, Texas Tech is as good at volleyball as we've seen in 2 decades plus.
Yeah, I'm really happy for that program because it's been a slow build for Coach Greystone, but getting them in the NCAA tournament last year, and then what appears to be another NCAA caliber team
on the way.
Yeah, and I mean, you can go back into the early 90s, and they were a 30-2, 30-3 Sweet 16 team a couple years.
Yeah,
and in the late 90s and the very early days of the Big 12, a couple of good teams in that stretch as well. And so it's not like they've never had success.
Sure,
but it's been it was a really down stretch for a while, and
basically since they've been in the Big 12, there's been almost no success.
Yeah, other than that little blip there in the late 90s.
Yep,
about 98, 99. Jill Burness was a very good player on those teams. And, when I was running Double T Association stuff, we inducted her in the Tech Athletic Hall of Fame, but she's the retired number in volleyball. There's one, and it's her.
Texas Tech soccer back on the pitch tonight. They'll play the Oklahoma State Cowgirls at 7 o'clock this evening. I think you can watch that one on ESPN Plus. I believe that's where that one will be broadcast. Yes, it is. But 7 o'clock tonight for Texas Tech soccer as they try to get back up off the mat. Lost to Texas 2-0 on Sunday. And don't forget Thursday Night Football. We'll have it for you on 100.7 The Score at 6:30. Dolphins and Bengals.
Yeah, nice little interesting matchup there.
Who's going to win?
This early in the year. I mean, at this point,
Tua's been cleared, right? I did say
that
that.
I don't know.
Yes, but it wasn't cleared for concussion. It was cleared for his back.
His
and-
What in the
back thing or
world
whatever.
is that? I mean, you saw him like hobbling off the field, and then he comes back in the game.
Yeah, it was ugly.
It's weird in today's world. Like back in the day, it'd be like, hurry up, smelling salts, get back out there. But
And as big of a deal, and deservedly so, as they have made one with concussion protocol and also just protecting the quarterback. Like, I know that they went through concussion tests and the NFL went and they cleared that when they had the player association investigation on it. But still, there's a little bit of eye test there when you have an offensive lineman having to hold up your quarterback.
you would think so. You would think so. You two can join us. Your thoughts, comments, questions, all welcome on the Yates Flooring Center chat line. Finally had it happen last night. Aaron Judge hit 61. And a Blue Jays fan probably drank himself to sleep last night because he was unable to make the catch. Brought the glove to the ballpark. First, what's your feelings on that? There's some people that get like,
If I was sitting where that dude was sitting, I would have brought it.
okay, so
Aaron asked me this question a couple weeks ago
Okay.
as we were leading into the 700
700
Pujols deal
yeah.
and me being up there this weekend.
Yeah.
I was like, probably not taking my glove if I'm sitting where I'm sitting, which is
Behind.
nosebleeds up
Yeah.
behind home plate. I don't need a glove. If I was plopped out in left field, I'm probably going to go ahead and put on the glove. And so because that could be a $50,000, $100,000. Yeah, I'm wearing a glove. Yeah, laugh at me. I'm 55. I'm wearing a glove because if I kick this thing, it's not going to be because I'm barehanded up here because I was worried about what
right.
you thought about me.
Exactly.
You know,
Exactly.
but
So
all of that's been put. Well, I guess not. I guess 62 would have equal, if not more, value.
I get yeah.
Although
So,
it won't happen in Toronto, right?
but 61, this guy, I guess it ticked off the end of the glove.
Ugh, tough break, man.
I mean, he was reaching a good little ways, but almost seemed like he, alligator armed it a little. Just didn't quite get all the way out there. And then he was definitely, you could see the look on his face. He's like, that's $8 million I just lost.
Yeah, it's who knows how much, but it's six seven figure dollar
Yeah.
amount there, and
Yeah.
if you're, I mean that's a tough deal there, no doubt.
Yeah. So you saw the guy obviously that gave the ball back to Aaron Judge. Apparently, this happened again where the bullpen coach caught it or ended up with it last night. In the Blue Jays, he just takes it back. His wife is a reporter, so there's some tweets going around last night.
Yeah, she's like an NFL.com reporter,
Yeah,
I think.
it was
Of course,
pretty
we're
funny.
talking about an MLB, but yeah, she was her tweets were pretty entertaining about that. Like, hey, of course, I'm sure his professional decorum.
Oh yeah,
It would probably. I don't even know if you'd be allowed to do that. Like, yes, I'm the pitching coach or the bullpen coach or whatever it is for the Blue Jays,
Right.
And I'm not giving the Yankees
I'm gonna hold
player
on
his
to it.
baseball. Like, sorry, pal.
happened at our stadium.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know what that would be.
Yeah, I don't know
like,
how
but-
well that would fly, but she's like, "Oh, cool. Just found out he handed it back without checking to see if the house is still here."
Yeah, because she lives in Florida. They
Right.
live in Florida. That was sort of the deal. I don't know that they're in the bullseye of all
She
that.
says, "I'd next like to announce our divorce."
Yeah, all in fun, of course. But still
pretty good stuff. Yeah.
that was entertaining.
All right, more of your thoughts. Show versus show. Looks like Gus gets to ride it solo this week.
Oh, I sent my email.
Oh, okay. That's next on Double T 97.3.
The podcast that finishes your workday in a very Red Raider way. This is the Tech Talk Podcast from Double T 97.3.
He's Mike Gustafson. I'm Chois Woodman in for AD today. Keep hitting us up. Your thoughts, your comments, are all welcomed on the Yates Flooring Center chat line. Coming up in half hour, Gus, I've got 3 reasons why Texas Tech will win the game against Kansas State, and also 3 reasons they're going to lose the game against Kansas State.
All right.
So we'll dive into that. Before we get past the whole Aaron Judge thing, I'm glad it's behind, but it's not really behind because we need him to get 62 for it to be, completely past us. What going to the other record that has been passed up now? Albert Pujols, what's the role for him moving forward? Because he's a guy who has kind of been a back burner guy up until this year lately, and then he, found the fountain of youth. This is a team that's obviously going to be in
the postseason.
In the postseason. So what's his role moving into the postseason?
Well, I think
the record's gone.
Sure, I think their real usage pattern for him was DH against lefties, really.
Yeah.
And that's what he was doing for a long time, and because his numbers are still really good. I mean, they're against left-handers. There's some things that give him problems, proving that he is mortal at 43 years old.
Mm-hmm.
But like his numbers really hold up well against left-handers, and so when they signed him, it was sort of as a D. Plus the DH was put in as a result of the lockout. And
that helps him a lot.
Yeah, there was a real baseball reason for doing it in addition to all of the feel-good stuff for the people in St. Louis. And but he, so I'm sure he'll be matched up in DH situations against any left-handed starters. Is he the right guy to face a DeGrom or a Scherzer? I'm not sure anybody is, but those guys. But the sort of postseason right-handers that are really nasty, I don't know. But they seem to have a decent handle on the type of guys that he's built to hit. I think high velocity dudes are a little tough on him at age 43. High velocity right-handers are tough on him, and so I wouldn't be surprised. I don't think they have to force the issue quite as much.
Sure.
As they felt like, hey, we got to get him number 700, so stick him out there. So he might have been playing in some games where the matchup wasn't as favorable, but everybody was trying to get that deal done, and so. They're in a situation like a lot of these teams, not all of them, but a lot of these teams in Major League Baseball that are focusing on seeding and getting stuff situated for, pitching rotations and things like that situated. There's some other teams that are still playing with their hair on fire, to get in.
Yeah. Funny.
So we've still got a couple of good races there to watch next week. So it should be a fun week of baseball.
So you get to go to St. Louis.
Yep.
How much? I mean, you've gotten to go to a lot of cool events in your lifetime. So how much? Where's this rank on the anticipation for going to?
Yeah, this. I mean, my son and I bought tickets to this back in April, probably May. I can't remember exactly. We made the full commitment. The first thing we did, right after they signed Albert, and both of you knew him and Yachty are both retired. Like the Cardinals have always done a pretty good job with their ceremonies for this kind of stuff. Fortunately, they've had the kind of success. But, I went to Ozzie Smith Day, but Ozzie was my guy when I was a kid. And so I was like, Brooks, we need to do this. But the very first thing I did was pull out the Tech football schedule back in April, May. Yeah. And I was like, oh, dude, they're out of town that weekend. And so we pulled the trigger on it way back then. And I'm there for it. And it's all been about the pregame ceremony, a fun weekend of baseball, but the pregame ceremony on Sunday and the last home game, and then what we ended up thought we might have a shot at getting. Hey, let's roll into town with Albert sitting on $6.99. That would have been cool, but obviously that's already happened. But those Brooks getting to see that he was a 5-year-old kid when Pujols showed up on the scene, so he's never really known the Cardinals not to have either Pujols or Yachty as guys, and so these guys sort of define his generation in a way that Ozzie defined mine, and Stan Musial defined my dad's, and so should be a cool deal. But they put out the times and all that stuff for the pregame ceremonies today, so be there, be there early and all that stuff. But that's I can't say that it's the most anticipated. because the College World Series stuff that Tech played in was probably the most just, mind-blowing, just gut-wrenching in a good way, but anticipated and all that stuff. But, this will definitely be up there.
All right, time for show versus show. This has been week 3 that we've got so far. Hadn't been going great for the Tech Talk boys. Just gotta say that. But Gus is planning on single-handedly picking them up off the mat. First game is a Big 12. All 3 of these Big 12 games, by the way. OU at TCU. TCU is getting 6.5 points here.
Yeah, Gus flipped a coin and took OU.
OU.
I'm sorry. I took TCU. I'm sitting here with a TCU underline, and I say the word OU. I picked TCU.
That's okay.
Yes, to cover.
Okay.
Yes.
So TCU is going to cover the 6.5.
Yep. The
Or
coin.
not cover
The
it.
coin.
Get the
The
6.5,
coin
yeah.
chose TCU, but I stand by the coin.
Man, TCU is a team I just haven't bought yet.
I know.
I've got to see more from them, and partially because preseason, I don't think they're that good. I don't know. I'm very curious what this TCU team is.
Yeah,
when they
agree.
run into anything good. So
they may be one of the bigger mysteries in the conference.
I think they probably are
at this point right now.
Yeah.
Because looking at their schedule on paper, that game at SMU was challenging. And again, I'm talking about on paper back in August. And then you go, ooh, they're on the road for a Power 5 opponent, first ever game. What we know now is they went to Boulder, and it's not TCU's fault. They scheduled it probably 5 years ago or
at least
10 years ago.
Yeah.
It seemed like a really good matchup on paper, but now we know that they're dismal.
Yep.
Colorado is, and so their road win there doesn't have as much glimmer on it. But Sonny Dykes off to a good start there, and their biggest test so far, no doubt, this week.
I think the 2 least tested teams right now are TCU and Oklahoma State. Those are the ones that I'm curious to see more from.
Yeah, and after Saturday, we'll
get to
wipe
judge
that
a little
away.
bit better. Yeah,
quite
a bit.
Yeah, OSU's getting a big one this week.
For sure. And TCU's got OU, so both teams we get to learn about. Iowa State at KU. KU's getting 3 points at home here.
I've got KU.
This is the one that's is back and forth. I cannot figure out this team or this game because
I feel like it's more Iowa State. I don't know. It's KU's done nothing but impress.
Yes,
and Iowa State might be sort of an antidote to that. KU high flying offense. Could this be the best defensive club they've faced so far?
I'd say probably.
Yeah, I would think so too. And so that's where I'm. Now the fact that it's at KU, and again KU getting 3.
I also think that this is going to be the second worst quarterback that they'll face all year behind Tennessee Tech with Hunter Deckers, because I think he's the worst quarterback in the league.
I think he's in that conversation for sure. Yeah, I don't know. KU has some defensive deficiencies that I want to see more about, but Iowa State they just don't really pass the eye test on being impressive. They're a big part of that cloud cover defense, though. So let's see how Jalen Daniels does against that. So this is the game. If I'm a gambling man, I stay completely away from it because I could see it going several different ways. All right, the final one, West Virginia at the Texas Longhorns. Texas giving 10 points at home.
And I have West Virginia covering that.
Okay. Again, this is another
Coin
one.
flip.
I don't know where you're going here. I truly would do a coin flip on this one because you could get Texas, who could play to their potential, be ticked off of what happened last weekend, and beat up a lesser West Virginia team. Or
at home,
or
excited to return home. They feel like they're in the spot that, and I don't even love what the coin came up with, but 10's a big number. But
yeah, it is.
Regardless, they could be what Texas Tech was coming off of Raleigh.
Yes.
Like, God dang, we that game, want to have that game back.
Yeah.
Oh, well, we're coming back home. Emotion, blah, blah, blah.
But also, look at Steve Sarkisian's history as a head coach.
I know.
His teams have not responded to adversity well. At USC, at Texas, not so good. It's Tech Talk. on Double T 97.3.
It's every Red Raiders' favorite podcast. This is the Tech Talk Podcast from Double T 97.3.
How you going? It's Tech Talk on Double T 97.3, Double T 97.3.com, and the Double T 97.3 mobile app brought to you by Happy State Bank. Alongside Mike Gustafson, I'm Chois Woodman. Clint Scott back behind the glass taking care of us. How you doing today, Clint?
Doing pretty good, yeah. Ready for the sports weekend ahead, but
That's good.
doing pretty good.
I'm happy for you.
I'm in the zone.
In the zone.
Playing some volleyball tonight.
Okay. That's good.
I'm ready to go.
I got kicked off the team from last week, but it's okay.
Hey, man, you helped.
Mm.
I say you helped because I've only been on the team for 2 games.
All right. So we have a few things to get into here in the next hour or so. We're with you all the way till 6 o'clock. Gus, I have compiled together, I'll post this into a story on doublet97.3.com later tonight, 3 reasons Texas Tech will win and 3 reasons Texas Tech will lose. But I'm going to reverse that because I'm a bad news first type of guy. It's just how
Get it over with.
natural. Yeah, I like that a little bit better. Thomas the Train on the chat line went ahead and delivered his score prediction. Purple Kitties 45, Texas Tech 24. That would surprise me. That score right there would surprise me. Not Texas Tech losing in Manhattan wouldn't surprise me at all. But losing by 21 points, I think either team getting blown out in this game would be a bit of a surprise because I think they're fairly evenly matched. And it just doesn't seem like either team has great blowout ability or ones that are prone to a blowout, at least against each other.
If the texter feels really good about that prediction, you might want to go find some action. Might want to go put some action on that because the spread's, 8 points?
Is it up to 8? I haven't seen it today.
Yeah, that's last time I looked.
Okay, so Red Raiders...
It's in the neighborhood of 8 points.
Yeah.
It's in the neighborhood of a touchdown. And so if you're really feeling good about that 45-24, you might want to go get some action.
Go lay it down.
Yeah, you're not predicting a 4-point win for K-State. Like, you might want to stay away from that pick. If you feel that strongly, you might want to go find someone to bet with.
Yeah, I've got it at 7.5.
7.5.
Mm-hmm.
So the 3 reasons Texas Tech will lose, we'll get to the 3 reasons they'll win a little bit later. Number 1 on my list, Adrian Martinez.
Yeah,
Martinez, a mobile quarterback that showed elite level athleticism a week ago against Oklahoma. By far had his best game of not just this year, but really his career. Yeah. I think that was the best of his career considering opponent and everything, location. Didn't really do a ton through the air. 21 for 34, a touchdown, no picks, 236 yards. But really impressive with the legs. 21 carries, 148 yards, and 4 touchdowns. OU just couldn't stop him. They tried, but could not stop him. So that's number 1 on my list. Number 2, one of the reasons that Kansas State will beat Texas Tech is special teams. Special teams has been lackluster for Texas Tech outside of, game-winning field goals, which are pretty important. Mm-hmm. Game-tying and game-winning field goals. Late for Trey Wolf. He's been excellent. But you've had inconsistencies, to put it nicely, at the punter position. Kickoff returns have been a bit of a struggle at times for Texas Tech. Hadn't been bad, but hadn't been a plus for the team. And then you flip that over. Kansas State's number 1 in the league when it comes to net punting. Number 1 in the league when it comes to punt return yardage. And number 1 in the league when it comes to kick return yardage. This is a team that, just like in years past, and we talked about it yesterday, a team that will hurt you with special teams because they are almost always on the plus side with that.
Yep, an elite kick returner, and just what you're saying, just in very general terms, a very good special teams group, as is the tradition, but they've got a stud returner, and that returner, I think, has 3 career kick returns.
Yeah.
And one of those was against Mississippi State when they played in Starkville a couple of years ago. That may go back 2 years, in fact. I can't remember. But that's been a dangerous deal. So, yeah, let's not belabor the reasons why we won't win. I thought you were going to throw in something about maybe some pass rush or just
no, pass rush is
good veteran defensive group. That was one of the things that I think that's one of the key things that's formidable about them. But a high-end edge rusher, for now we're talking about an offensive line for the Red Raiders that has gotten a little bit better every week or has played better. Hopefully a group that stays healthy and keeps progressing. But they're probably facing a more talented player, maybe even a more talented group. Sir, I would say that probably more talented group than what Houston offered. I don't know what Texas is because we kind of played better against them, and we played against some of these other groupings that, but especially after watching Texas play Bama. Now, there's something to be said for. Yeah, one of the things that was on our wish list for this time last week was Texas coming on the road.
You want Bama?
I know. was Texas going on the road and sort of having that first road game experience like Tech did at Raleigh, and you could say that they did.
Yeah.
You can't look at their D line and go that group didn't play like they did against Bama 2 weeks ago, but. But I think this is another dangerous front that Tech is facing, and when you match that up with their number one leading the Big 12 in rushing offense, this feels like a game you don't want to play behind. You don't want to let K-State have the ball for 40 minutes, that sort of thing.
No, that's actually number 3 on my list is the Kansas State pass rush. I think that if you look at what they've got going in the pass rush, they are about as good as you're going to find in the conference. And I'm tired of saying that every week about each defensive line. I mean, you look back to the last 4 weeks, or include this week, you could argue that Texas is the worst out of the grouping when it comes to defensive lines. And I'm not going to say that they absolutely are because NC State was excellent against the run, but not great in a pass rush. Houston was excellent against the pass. I mean, they sacked it 6 times in that game. And then this is going to be another one of those where Kansas State is really good in pass rush, but not good against the run. Actually 9th in the Big 12 when it comes to run defense. So, which is not typical for a Kansas State defense, but maybe there is something, the game plan around there. But, that Kansas State pass rush is perfect word, like you said, formidable. One that can go win games for you. If you can be in Donovan Smith's lap all afternoon on Saturday, it will cause some problems, and that can directly play into turnovers and those sorts of things, bad situations on third down, and it's one where I think you've got to be able to block for your quarterback or get the ball out of his hands quickly on Saturday.
Agree.
We'll get to, on the other side of a few headlines, we'll get to 3 reasons Texas Tech will win the game against Kansas State. Let Gus react to that. I got a question for the group as well. It's Tech Talk on Double T 97.3.
The podcast that finishes your workday in a very Red Raider way. This is the Tech Talk Podcast from Double T 97.3.
That's right. You're listening to Tech Talk on Double T 97.3 and Double T97.3.com. With you till 6 o'clock this evening. Red Raider football with Joey McGuire. We'll take over at that time. I'm Chois Woodman with Mike Gustafson and Clint Scott today. Lots of your thoughts regarding Tech and K-State rolling in on the chat line. Get back to some of those in a moment. So I gave you 3 reasons that Texas Tech would lose in Manhattan this weekend. Did that about a half hour ago. Now the 3 reasons that Texas Tech will win. Number 1, Adrian Martinez. He was the same reason. He was the number 1 reason that they would lose. But also, if you follow Adrian Martinez's career at all, he is Mr. Inconsistency. That was his problem at Nebraska. You can look at it from a week-to-week perspective. His offense puts up 10 points against Tulane at home and loses there. He looked very pedestrian in that game. Didn't do a ton to hurt them in terms of turnovers or anything like that, but definitely didn't do much to elevate them and help them win that game. And then he goes and does what he did against OU. So hopefully we're on the trough part of the roller coaster,
Yeah, I like it.
the low part.
I like it.
Number 1.
Some ebbs and flows.
Yep.
I do think it's funny because sometimes you look at him and you go, boy, this is Spencer Sanders Jr. Can play super well or lose the game for you. To your point, he doesn't really lose the game, just sometimes –
He's just
and a lot of times, just
non-factor.
ineffective.
Yeah.
It's like you forget he's on the field.
Exactly. It's not like he's just
doesn't win it for him.
because Sanders does go lose games for OSU. He'll throw 3 picks in a game and just look terrible, and then other games he'll look fantastic. But for Martinez, he's a jag, just a guy. Number 2, Texas Tech's front 7. This is why you have opportunity to win this football game. So many years when we go into this matchup with Kansas State, it's like, crap. They're going to be the 3 yards, 4 yards in a cloud of dust team. They're going to be able to hop, skip, go get you some yards, Colin Klein style. And for Texas Tech many years in the past, that's bad because that's what you haven't defended very well. But it's the opposite this year. You have opportunity to say, hey, Adrian Martinez, beat us with your arm, because you really have not shown that ability. Even against OU, wasn't his arm tearing it up. It was his legs. So I think because of what you've got experience-wise and talent-wise in that front 7, that's a plus for Texas Tech.
Yeah, I think controlling you probably say this every week to a certain extent, but this week, controlling first and second down, letting them play behind the sticks, not letting them get their option game just unleashed. That's probably a big deal.
Yeah.
Because I don't know that they're well suited for 3rd and 8, 3rd and 10, 3rd and 12 all the time.
Shouldn't be. Plus, to pair that in, the scoring offense for Kansas State this year, 9th in the league, 66th in the country. Total offense, 10th in the league, 80th in the country. Not an offense that should scare you that much. But again, you saw the game last week, and they scored 40-plus against Oklahoma.
Yeah, leading the conference in rushing and last in passing, which
will do that, yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, not just last in passing, but really bad in passing. 122nd in the nation.
Like last week threw it around pretty good in a way that created some balance or some offset, but it was their the highlights that we're seeing out of last week in Norman was them running around all over the place.
And number 3 on why Texas Tech will win this weekend in Manhattan, Donovan Smith. Donovan Smith took a step forward this past week, but I think there's one thing that can't really be quantified in stats, and I mean, it somewhat can. He's scoring touchdowns or throwing for touchdowns, but it is a factor that Donovan Smith has of willpower, like we haven't seen around here in a little while. I'm talking about what you saw at the end of the Houston game. You're in some trouble, but he's able to will you to victory in one of his worst played games. Against Texas, he plays pretty well most of the way in this game, but so many instances where he has to go get you yards or he has to go convert a 4th down for you, and he's able to do it. There seems to be a winning mindset, mentality, just a winning factor to Donovan Smith. Now, it didn't work out the first time on the road. But what you hope is that he learned from that experience.
Yeah,
So.
I'm with you there, and found a way.
Yeah.
To maybe the most telling part of that Houston game was finding a way to win when things weren't going well.
Right.
6 straight possessions in the second half in which they didn't score and really didn't play well, and he didn't play well. And in that stretch was the pick six. I think there may have been 2 interceptions in that stretch, but then it's like down 3 with a minute left, and go peel off a 40-yard run, 50-yard run.
Yeah.
When he bumped into the guy on the sidelines, and that dude, but anyway, setting up the field goal to tie it, and then going and scoring twice, and that's not all him. I'm sure there's other things, but converting whatever that 4th and 12 or whatever it was. I mean, the long 4th down scenario there at the end of the first overtime, like it. Gotta have it. Makes a
4th
throw.
and 20.
Yeah, 4th and 20. There you go. I mean, just something ridiculous, and they go make a play. And so that was hopefully that's the making of a legend around here in terms of his ability to go make plays and get stuff done. He too stringing together 2 really couple of high end games here in a row wouldn't hurt his reputation as well. Because he would be sort of a, there's been some peaks and valleys for him as well. And again, most of that for me really hinges on 6 interceptions in 2 games, and specifically in that Houston game, the second half. But I'm with you there.
Someone says, "Can y'all imagine if Mahomes had this defense?" That's a question we've asked like every year since Mahomes left campus. If he just had this defense, or if he just had, it's improved since he left campus, and you'd probably be, I don't know, pretty darn good football team. This question from the AIDS Flooring Center chat line: if Sark gets canned this year, do you think the potential coaches will start to look at UT job differently? As in, it's tough to win because of outside influences, or will big money always entice good coaches to come to UT?
Yeah, unfortunately it's probably the latter.
But they haven't got their number 1 pick the last couple times around.
I know.
Sark wasn't.
I don't think they're going to be picking off the scrap heap though.
No, I agree.
Because the money's always going to be there. That's a huge brand, and everybody. If you were going way outside the conference, and you just went to North Carolina, I'll take North Carolina out because of Mac Brown. But if you just went to, hey, Division I coaches in the state of whatever, Illinois, Iowa, North Carolina, South Carolina, whatever. What appeals to you about the Texas job? The first thing you do is, that brand's, it's the most valuable brand in college sports, much as we hate to admit it. Number 1.
It is.
Number 2, recruiting hotbed, get to, let's say rule the roost in this state, because A&M's ruling the recruiting roost in the state most recently. But they're always, the one thing you hardly ever, if there's ever a scenario in which a Texas coach, probably in any sport, isn't recruiting the state of Texas well, it's, it's either in a off the wall kind of sport like maybe a golf or tennis or something, where your bread is buttered internationally or something like that, or maybe but still they're always going to be able to probably get some attention from the best at whatever in the state, and so that's always going to be a deal. But the other thing there is what are the you can't really put a cap on where they are, because when they get their crap in a row, they're going to be they can be lined up to be a national championship contender, right?
Right, but it's been so long.
Oh, I understand.
It's just it's like what's the? It's hard to put a finger on exactly what it is.
Yeah, the ceiling is very high there, and so no coach is going to take that job going, I don't know, the unrealistic expectations, and they're going to go in there and go, hey, we can get the ducks in a row and be.
But it is political too. It's a political
100%.
job, big time.
Hey, and the price of poker's getting higher because they're moving to the SEC.
You've been listening to the Tech Talk Podcast from Double T 97.3. Check out Double T973.com for more from Lubbock Sports Station.